Hi, I'm Tony from the Australian Window Association. Today, we're going to be installing an aluminium French door into brick veneer construction. Tools we need include a spirit level, a tape measure, hammer, chisel, staple gun, utility knife, drill, impact driver, snips. There are a few things we'll need. Fixing screws, either stainless steel or galvanised. Packers, like the ones shown here, or you may prefer to use timber wedges. Alcor for our sill tray. And we'll also need some flashing. There are a number of different types. Flashing and weatherproofing of the opening is probably the most important part of the installation process, and is particularly important in high wind and exposed locations. The sill flashing is fitted to the bottom of the window and extends on either side at least 150mm. The jamb flashing should be at least 150mm wide and attached to both sides of the window, starting 150mm above the window and continues down to overlap the sill flashing. Where the top of the window is not protected by the eaves, it will be necessary to fit a head flashing. The head flashing should be fixed to the wall frame or into the internal brickwork above the window and extend outward to cover the head of the window and overlap the jamb flashing on each side. This principle of overlap is important, as it should provide that at each transition water is directed outward onto the element below, so that any water that penetrates the outer skin of the structure is directed out and away. Many window suppliers can pre-fit flashings, so remember to ask when ordering your windows if this is an option. You may need to cut and remove the bottom plate. We need to check the door opening to make sure it is the right size. The opening should be about 20mm bigger in height and width than the overall size of the door, including the reveal. You should check the opening is reasonably plumb, level and square, and also that the bottom of the opening is straight, as the door sill needs to be fully supported along its length. We need to fit a sill flashing tray. Cut off enough flashing to cover the full width of the opening with about 150mm extra on each side. We need to fold the flashing to form a tray. The internal leg needs to fold up about 20mm. Cut and fold the corners and locate in place. Next, we need to install the sarking. Feel for the opening from the outside. At the head, we cut the sarking off flush with the opening. Cut about 100mm in from the stud and fold back in like this and staple in place. You may need to cut a notch in the reveal so that it will sit over the flashing. Pre-drill the door for the fixing screws. Position the door over the sill flashing roughly in the centre of the opening and level the sill using packers. Adjust the frame so that the inside reveal lines up with the wall lining, usually either plasterboard or fibre cement in wet areas. In most cases this will be 10mm, but check if thicker lining is being used. This may affect where the reveal needs to sit. I'm using a piece of 12mm ply to allow for glue and setting materials. Fix the top corners in place. Check the jambs are plumb using your level and adjust door position as necessary to make sure the frame is square, plumb and level, and even clearances across the head. It may take a few goes to get right, but it's important, so take your time. As a final check, open and close the doors a few times to make sure the lock and the bolts operate correctly. To finish off, tamp the sill flashing into the sill for a nice neat finish and trim the wedges. Fit the jamb flashing to either side of the door, starting 150mm above, overlapping onto the sill flashing. The jamb flashing should be at least 150mm wide and sealed to the door frame. It is important to protect the door during bricklaying, as the door frame and glass can be easily damaged by mortar deposits if not properly cared for. Any deposits should be washed away immediately with fresh water. When bricking up the jambs, be sure that the bricks are positioned close to the frame, but don't push on the jamb to create a bow. The head flashing is laid into the lintel before the bricks are laid, and the mortar joints will be left open for weep holes with no more than 1.2 metres between them. The top of the flashing goes behind the sarking, so we'll need to cut a slit about 150mm above the door that goes right across and about 150mm past the opening on each side. Well, that's it for this video. Check out the other videos in this series for information on installing other window types. Thanks for watching.